The Nike React Infinity Run Flyknit 3. Is this the ultimate successor to the 1 and 2 that we've been looking for? Or does it flop? Let's talk about it. So before we get into it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're already subscribed to this channel watching the content, thanks so much. Love you guys a lot. Here's the specs for the shoe. And because this is brand new, we're just going to go over the specs this one time and just, we'll just start rolling right into it. So, this particular shoe in size 8.5 in men's size is about 10.3 ounces, which puts it at like roughly somewhere around 290 grams to like 295 grams average, with a heel of about 34 millimeters in height, and the forefoot's about 26, which gives it this 8 millimeter offset, which, funny enough, you can probably guess by the design of this shoe if you've been following this channel, is the same design they've had for the outsole and this rubber setup for the last 3 years of this shoe running. And I think I read this somewhere online that this is kind of uncommon for Nike to do. Usually they like to change up the design or bring in a new family of shoe into the picture. In this case, like, the React Infinity line is it's going strong with this particular, rubber design, or this foam design in this case, and I like it. I mean, it obviously is doing something right to be able to keep that design, and I suppose be the shoe marketed for your recovery runs that isn't too violent on your foot while you're striking. It's good for your walks and things like that. So in I guess the grand scheme of things, something is working well with this shoe for Nike to decide, hey, let's keep this design and let's just try to tweak some of the pieces that have been otherwise kind of bad with this shoe. So we're going to get into it because they managed to fix certain things and then other things kind of are weird. So next thing I guess we can showcase, of course, is the bottoms of the shoes. As you can probably guess, at about 10-15 plus miles, they are a little bit dirty, but they are still following the exact same design of its obvious predecessors. So in this case, I am still kind of watching to see what happens on the right side of this shoe, and I'm watching to see what happens in the toe box area of my left foot here. So that's kind of where we're at right now with it. So let's talk about some of the pros with the shoe as of right now. One of the things that I thought was kind of a pro is that the Infinity React 2's upper design, I was not a fan of it. There was something weird about it that just wasn't settling right, and I couldn't get the fit of that shoe proper. And I think what was happening was probably in this shoe collar area here, where there was maybe a little bit too much plush, and I couldn't get a good grip, or like a good, the foot wasn't sitting well in the Infinity React 2. Whereas here in the Infinity React 3, they removed a lot of the plush and you have more of kind of like this raw design to it. And it's not to say that the heel collar isn't comfortable or anything, it still is. It's just there's a little bit less material to work with at this side of things, so you can get a better lock as a result. Another plus that I like is that, of course, they have kept this heel hoof, I guess you can say. It's pretty good for that nice heel lock, and in this case it's like this orange kumquat collar, which I like, I guess. It's okay. So anyways, yeah, the other thing that's good is that there's a lot more heel reinforcement because they added some more of this like rubber textile material in the area. It is pretty soft once you're up here, but down here it's nice and solid, so that's kind of what I'm looking for, so you don't have any sort of heel slip or anything of that sort going on. Now, here's kind of some of the neutral things going on, is that I was reading somewhere before I did this review that there's a lot more material on this like upper mesh textile setup. And at first I didn't think so, but the more that I look into it, the more I'm like, okay, yeah, I understand. The major difference with it is because the shoe is white, it's harder to tell that there's more material when you're looking through it, like through the sunlight or like through a lamp, that there is a lot more textile and all this material going on than in the second version of the Infinity React that I owned, which had a more stylish design to it, and it seemed like there was just a lot more material. Despite all that, this shoe is actually heavier than the Infinity React 2 by just a small margin, which again shocked me as well. But I don't notice the weight when I'm running with it necessarily, at least not yet in the first few stages of me running with this shoe at this point in time. Now, some of the negatives, or the I guess you can say comments that I'm seeing here. One of the major ones that again I mentioned here as a neutral was that some people thought this upper was a little bit too heavy, and it's absorbing a lot of water while people are like running and the feet are sweating. That may be the case more with the watermelon design of the shoe, where it's like darker colors and you're absorbing more sunlight, and then of course your feet are probably getting warmer and they start sweating, or if you're running through the rain, that could also be the case for both of these pairs of shoes. So that could be a thing to consider as to why this upper being thicker is a bad thing. But again, the idea, I guess, optimally is you want the shoe to be as light as possible. So I understand where they're coming from. The other thing that's kind of weird at this point in time is also the length of the shoelaces. It's a very easy thing to fix, in my opinion. Just like, pull them out and like try to get longer shoelaces. The conundrum that's going on with this particular like default layout for the shoelaces here is that when I'm double knotting, it turns into this like ball of string, and it's very hard to tuck into the side of my foot. And as a result, that's kind of where the issue starts rolling in. And even when you are using the eyelids, that's kind of where the issue also arises, is you're losing a little bit of shoelace length because of that. Now, I'm not having an issue with the tongue of the shoe necessarily. It is a lot more wobbly. It doesn't seem to rip when you pull at it like it did in the Infinity React 2. So that's a plus, I guess. They fixed that piece at least. So, yeah, that's kind of what we've got so far in terms of pros, cons, and things like that. There's no carbon plates in the shoe. There's no air zoom pockets. It's just one slab of React foam going all the way across the shoe. That's more or less designed for recovery runs and more everyday pacing. So, the overall consensus with the shoe as of right now, if you liked the original 2 Infinity or React Infinity Run Flyknits, you're probably going to like this one. If you hated the 2, liked the 1, you'll probably like the 3. It's kind of going back to the simplicity of that shoe rather than what the Infinity React 2 did, which was basically over-engineer itself, kind of like the ZoomX Invincible. And it had more moving parts, where here they simplified it a lot more, like the React Infinity 1. So that's obviously rolling very well with it. But again, if you don't want to run with a really heavy shoe, you might want to opt away from this one. Although it just doesn't feel heavy. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. But yeah, I digress. So yeah, that's why I think I'm going to leave this review for now at about, 15 to 20 plus miles. I like it. It's not nearly as nostalgic as the React Infinity 1 was. It just never will be the same. But I see where like there's elements of the shoe that makes it feel like I'm running in the React Infinity 1 again. So if you agree or disagree with any of the assessments I have at this point, just comment them down below. Let's talk about it. Let's see what everyone thinks about this shoe. I'll review it at about 50 plus miles, and then I'll start comparing it to some of the other daily trainers in my lineup, because it has utilities that will basically do better than some of the shoes I own, but other shoes I also have will be better than this one in certain circumstances. So once we get across that bridge, we'll talk about it. So thanks for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.